Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Joy Jordal, who is a short-term volunteer serving here at the Jungle Hospital in rural Honduras, and you're here through our friends at World Medical Mission.
Yes.
So they were nice enough to send you up here to hang out with Martin and Wendy and the gang, and do some work up here. And how long are you here for?
I'm here for 6 months. That was my initial sign-on.
Okay. And how close are you to the end? How long has it been now since you got here?
I am 20 days away from end.
Oh, okay. So you're getting to go home in
Yeah.
20 days.
Yeah.
So what's your experience been like since you've been here?
My road was pretty long in getting here. I felt called to missions when I was 14.
Okay.
It was always on my heart. Even before that, it was reading Amy Carmichael, reading Mary Slessor. It was
Okay.
something always on my mind. But I felt like it kind of implanted when I came here at 14 on a mission trip to Honduras. And I felt specifically called to this country. So I went home. I started college at 16. And it took a long time to finish college because at that time the program was undergoing some remodeling. And so that took 8 years to complete a nursing degree. That was frustrating. And during that time, I kind of lost my passion for missions. And I was confused because I thought things would go differently than they would. And I think the first 30 years of your life is figuring out what your calling is.
Mhm.
And the rest is cementing that
Mhm.
and growing on that. So I just wanted to do what God wanted me to do. So I started doing ministry back in Minnesota and giving up the idea of going someplace, which was very hard for me because that was my intention for 10 plus years.
Okay. So
And
you're here kind of still exploring. Okay.
exploring.
God, do you want me to do this full time, forever,
Yep.
and ever and ever? Okay.
Yeah.
Or at least for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
So what, has he posed, or have you had any apprehensions about, okay, what is this going to look like? It's me as a single person going to the mission field. Uh, what are your thoughts on that? Have you had any big struggles or thoughts about that?
During the time of me thinking about going to the mission field,
Uh-huh.
it was this goal that was far off,
Yeah.
like becoming president.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's going to be like until you're in office.
Yeah.
So when I got here, it threw me for a loop because I had to decide, like, do I want this to be every day for the foreseeable, however long God puts me here? And that's a scary thought because it's hard to live at work, so to speak. You're
Yeah.
pretty much living at work, and it's hard to be away from family. So you really have to have that conversation with God and figure that out.
Yeah, that's for sure. What have you dealt with the kind of this place is kind of different in the sense that it gets real busy, and you go out and to do kind of the short-term medical team model, oftentimes with groups that come in, and then you have this downtime where you're doing kind of clinic for half the day or into the mid-afternoon, and then so you have a little bit more downtime, like right now.
Yeah.
How have you managed kind of the difference in that ebb and flow?
I think the best attribute you can have as someone working on a mission field is to be very flexible because that is life. I mean, you are busy, you are required to do things that is outside of your job description.
Sure.
And then you're not busy and you're bored out of your mind and you want to go home. So it's learning how to deal with those waves and figuring out how to live each day instead of kind of zooming out and getting lost in the situation.
Any big challenges since you've been here? What have been your biggest challenges?
I think the biggest challenge is just being away from family
Yeah.
and being kind of living at work.
Yeah.
So in the States, when you have an 8-hour shift, you can go home and you can recharge and you can be with friends and not think about work. When you're here, especially because where I am, I live on the property that I work at,
Mhm.
you can't shut off completely. You have downtime, which is nice, but it's not the same as complete recharge. So that's been a challenge.
Got it.
But connection has made it very accessible to reach family and to communicate with them and continue those relationships.
Any thoughts on security as a single woman on the mission field? What are your, have you thought about that at all since you've been here or before?
Yeah, so my first initial longer term, it was 3 months. My first trip was to Peru, and that was for 3 months, and that was self-ordained.
Okay.
So that was me saying, God, I'm not going to wait until you open a door. I'm going to go, and I'm going to be what I want to be or what I feel called to be. And so that taught me exactly what not to do. And so I was there alone as a single person, and I was in dangerous situations. I walked through Cusco by myself with like everything I owned on my back. Not a great idea. I was riding any kind of public transport across the country. I at one point had a drunk man follow me down an alley. It was later that God showed me those images in a worship service, and he showed me that he was protecting me, but it was a lesson looking back, like, you don't do this. You can't go in like it's not dangerous, because it is.
Yeah. It's good thoughts. Thanks for taking time out to do this, Joy. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.